People of Reddit, what was your "I'm dating a ucking idiot" moment? I went on a couple dates with a woman who owned 2 large energetic dogs. When she bought them, she was informed that she'd need to walk them every day to get them exercise and burn off energy. To save time, instead of walking them, she'd take them for a drive and thought that accomplished the same thing. We drove past a windmill on a windy day. She commented how it was too windy out and they should turn the windmill down. She was dead serious. I had to explain to a grown woman that 20% is not always $20 when converted to currency. She didn't know how to get to my house from anywhere but her house. Her work was about halfway between my house and hers, but she had to drive home first every time before she could drive to my house. This was pre-smartphones. When he left the window open in the middle of summer because the air conditioning made the house too cold, he didn't turn off the air conditioner and argued that it wouldn't have made a difference. He told me he had a lot of inventions, and how rich he will be when one sells. I asked him to tell me more. He says his best invention is eye drops that, with just one application mind you, eliminate the need for eyeglasses. The guy is a mailman. Not a doctor. Not a scientist. And he wears glasses. So I said, if these eye drops work, why do you wear glasses? The eye drops don't exist yet. But when someone else actually formulates these fantasy eye drops, my mailman friend thinks he will get the money because he invented them by dreaming them up. When I mentioned I was on my period, he asked what my favorite flavor of tampons are. He genuinely thought the colors on the tampon packs were flavors, and that it would soak into my blood while inside and I'd eventually taste it. I'm desperate to know the source of this information. He put a load of laundry in with mixed color and whites. Poured in bleach to whiten the whites. Deep was shocked that the bleach bleached everything in the load. I had to explain that the bleach will bleach everything you put in it, as the bleach cannot discern what you want bleached or not. He was shocked, truly stunned and flabbergasted. It was the most obvious one. They can never lose an argument. No matter what facts are presented, no matter how insignificant them being wrong would be, they will not give up on being right. I could offer them irrefutable proof on something, and they would ignore it. Let me just give you a hypothetical example of how far it can often go. Them. Cows are so skinny. Me. You mean fat. Them. That's what I said. Me? No. You said skinny. Then. I know what I said. Random person in backseat. You said skinny. Them. Oh. So both of you heard me wrong. Y'all need your ears checked. Y'all seriously don't know you're talking about ever. Me. Here's the dashcam footage. Let's just listen to it. Video of them literally saying cows are so skinny them. See. I told you I accidentally said skinny. Me and third person. What? Them? What? Me. You've literally just been arguing the opposite. This entire time. Them. No, I haven't. We go through checking the footage and proving them wrong again, and they eventually give up the cycle by changing the argument to me being an *SS hole. That's how it ends with the simplest and most complicated of things. It's a really clear defense mechanism of an idiot. We went to a science museum and saw a display of a carboniferous swamp, and I casually remarked that the land would have been different back then due to plate tectonics. She had never heard that the continents moved, so I explained how it worked with plates moving, earthquakes, and volcanoes. She still didn't believe me, so I found the Tectonics Museum display that explained it all. And then she said she was amazed that I had enough pull with the museum to have them set up a display to support my lies. I dated a really manipulative and horrible person for a bit who would hide behind his weird interpretation of the Bible. I can do anything I want as long as I ask for forgiveness after. I can't go to hell no matter what I do because I'm saved. So one time, we were having a conversation of how he lets his friends bully me, so I didn't want to hang out with them anymore. The kind of healthy talk in relationships where you're just trying to feel understood. I mentioned to him that if I ever saw people mistreating him, I would come to his defense because I cared about him. He says, "Booty, not you. Just because you pee sitting down doesn't mean I have to pee sitting down." In the moment I realized what I was getting myself into and broke it off immediately. Also, I had seen him be sitting down. Just wanted to add that. When a year after my hysterectomy, he started saying he wanted to try for a baby. It was when vampire-related shows and movies wearing the height of their popularity. He became obsessed with vampires. When we would go outside, he started to act like the sun was hurting him. Anda would shield his face with his hands while groaning in pain. Think of Jim from The Office with his vampire prank. Only he was more dramatic and serious. Dated a guy with hemorrhoids who swore that every time they bled he was just having his period. He didn't know where the ankle was. I hurt my ankle when he dropped me, on accident, and he went to look at it and said it looked fine as he was touching my calf. I was like, well yeah, cause that's not my ankle. Silence. Then arguing about how it was my ankle and me telling him it was my leg not my ankle and having to explain what an ankle was. My ex would blow me off about a topic I knew a lot about. But when her brother said the same thing, she took it as gospel, and would fight me when I would point out I said that too.
What is an old movie that aged extremely well? Alien. The Thing. 12 Angry Men. Office Space. The Princess Bride. The Shawshank Redemption. Clue with Tim Curry. Jurassic Park. Some Like It Hot and Arsenic and Old Lace are still hilarious. And I am always bugging people to watch them. Especially if they have never watched any black and white movies. Monty Python's Holy Grail. Jurassic Park isn't that old, but considering when it came out compared to where we're at with CGI now, it's very impressive. What is the worst way you've ever heard of someone dying? My friend's husband choked to death at the dinner table in front of his wife and young kids last year. Hisashi Ouchi. 0.83 days of radiation poisoning. Edit. Well, the typo is staying. I once read about an amusement park tragedy where there was a log ride that collapsed, and the carrier dropped the people essentially into a gear meat grinder. 2 children survived out of like a dozen people. By clinging onto the safety bars until their arms went numb. The emergency crew who came to save them described it as the most horrific thing they ever witnessed, and many still need therapy to this day to help them cope with the aftermath they witnessed. John Edwards Jones. Just imagining being stuck there upside down freaks me out. I'm a farmer. One of the neighbors was baling hay and got out to clear a jam with the round baler running. His leg got caught in the tines, and he was pulled into the machine and crushed, then spun around and around for over an hour before he was found. Absolutely terrible way to go. Junko Furuta's whole story basically. Man got trapped in his closet by a fallen cabinet. He was recluse, so nobody was coming to check on him. He realized he had to save himself, and broke through the ceiling and broke a pipe off, intending to tunnel his way out. It was a water pipe, and cold water started hitting down from above. It was several days before he died, trapped in the with water beating on his head. The only reason he was found was because the neighbors stopped hearing him banging for help, and suddenly got nervous and called the police to check on things. Secure your heavy furniture, y'all. In Australia during the bushfires, a family were cut off and trapped, so they jumped into their water tank to avoid the fire. They all ended up being boiled alive. Skeptical smiley face. I remember this video of this guy in a factory. He was near a machine that was like a huge cylinder and it was spinning and had these metal grips all around it. I think part of his uniform sleeve got stuck, so he immediately tries to pull it out before his arm is sucked into the machine and crushed, ripped apart, and then his entire body gets pulled into it while the machine spins faster and faster and flings his body parts all over the area he's in. He's doing that for a good 30 seconds before another worker runs over and stops the machine. His entire body was literally vaporized and torn apart and flung everywhere within 15 seconds of his arm getting stuck. It was insane. We had a 16-year-old admitted to critical care after attempting suicide via shotgun under the chin. Managed to cleanly obliterate his entire jaw, mouth, nose, eyes and forehead, but somehow didn't do enough damage to the brain to immediately kill him. He was moaning, trying to gasp for air through the blood, bone fragments and minced tissue in his lungs. He lived just long enough to regret his decision. Remember, suicide is not an easy way out. More often than not it is slow and excruciating, and you'll have plenty of time to wish you hadn't done it before you finally die. Why the *UCK did I click this dumbass thread before I was about to sleep?
Rule 34 states that if it exists, there is orn of it, no exceptions. What are you pretty sure is an exception? Everything that I want there to be an exception for I don't want to see. I'm terrified one of the artists will raid this subreddit. The original characters I created when I was 9 to 10 and haven't posted about at all despite having drawn them several times. Can confirm. I have not drawn R34 of them, and if I'm the only person who knows they exist, there cannot be R34 of them. IDID have a dream about it though. The 1995 Jacksonville Jaguars. Tardigrades? Nice try. You aren't going to bait me into fulfilling Rule 35. If orn does not exist, it will be made.